Welcome, beautiful teachers, to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. I am thrilled to be back with you again today. And if you're joining us for the first time, a huge warm welcome to you. You may not have met me yet. If so, my name is Nicola Canton. I'm a piano teacher over in Dublin in Ireland, and I run Vibrant Music Teaching and the Colourful Keys blog. You may have seen me around and about the place there, and also this weekly YouTube show right here where I share the latest music teacher news. We dive into a special topic every week, and we do some web reviews, and we also have an Ask Me Anything section at the end. And if you have a question, let me know, because that's what we'll do at the end of the show. Type the word question at the start. All caps or non-caps, it doesn't actually matter anymore because I can search for it now, so that's awesome. So just type question and then your question. It can be about anything. It can be about the topic of the day, which, by the way, today is about raising your fees. And if I don't see your question in the stream while we're going through the main topic, I'll get to it at the end if it's about the main topic, but also it can be about anything else. So maybe you have a question about something you saw on the blog last week. Or maybe we were talking about recitals earlier, maybe it's a random recital question. Can be about anything. It can also be, hey, I see something blue in your background there, can you show me what it is? That's fine too. It can be totally off topic. So anything and everything, just type the word question at the start so that I can definitely find it later. And as we go through the show today, I just want to give you a little reminder that this is not about doing all the things. It never is around here. It's about doing one thing. Just do one thing. J. is our mantra around here. So if you are new, keep that in mind as we go through today. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the solutions. It's about just doing one thing. Take one step forward and you will make progress. And the step we're going to take today is to raise our fees. Did you like the dramatic pause there? And the little swallow? Maybe you can pick that up on the mic. We are going to raise our fees today. But first, let's dive into some music teacher news. Alright, so in my personal update this week, what's been going on around here? Well, I have been preparing for my own recital, my students' concert. It's on this Saturday as I record this, and I am delighted to say that I now have all the videos. So we're a little bit earlier than last time. Last recital I ran, we were supposed to have more of a buffer. I always allow for a buffer, right? But then we were offline and we went back online. And so I had been planning to record them at the studio, and then we had to go back online, which meant I was now dumping this on the parents' plate. And I couldn't say, yeah, they're due tomorrow. So I had to cut into my buffer. So I have to say, I am feeling a lot more relaxed this time just because I have them a week early. Like, the videos are all there. I mean, I had them almost 2 weeks early for almost all of them. And then just a few stragglers coming in. So it's a lot more chill, which is great. And it looks like I'm going to have my special surprise ready for them. Would you guys like to be the first ones to know about the special surprise? I haven't told anyone this. I haven't even told, unless one of them is watching, I don't think they watch the show very often. I haven't even told the teachers who work at Colourful Keys this. We did a songwriting project over the last few months. So my students all composed a song. They actually wrote the lyrics and then they composed the music for someone else's lyrics in the studio. So every student is a lyricist and a composer on one song. And the results of it were so great that what I decided to do, so every year we produce a book of their compositions, and we're still doing that this year, and that's on the way. I've ordered it already from the printer, which is great. And I love doing that. But since they were songs, I really wanted to bring them to life. So what I decided to do was hire someone. I hired someone on Upwork, and she has been recording the songs. So I did the piano part, but number one, I'm not the greatest singer in the world. Number two, I don't have time to sing all these songs. Like, it would take me a few takes to get them satisfactorily, and that's a lot of time. We're talking about 50 songs here. 48, okay? It's a lot. So I didn't have time, not the most glamorous singer, and also I just feel like it would be more fun for them to hear someone else singing them, right? It feels like more of a big deal to me, so I just went with my gut on that and decided to hire someone. So I hired a singer on Upwork, and she has been recording the vocals for these songs. So they're real songs now, right? Because you can't synthesize voice in any satisfactory way. So it's going to be incredible. I'm really excited for this. And the reason I haven't told anyone that is I'm hoping that we'll have all of them for this Saturday, and I'm going to play them all as the outro of the concert. So like at the end, I'm going to say, okay, now if you have to head off, no worries, these will all be available to watch later, and I'll do my goodbyes and I say, but I actually have a special surprise, and you can watch this, and we're streaming them all there. So I'm going to stream them as video, just with background images, not video, and it's going to go through all of their songs. And I'm so excited to let them hear them. I mean, some of them are really good. Some of them are totally mad, right? They're just like dinosaurs screaming at each other. But some of them are really good. And I'm really excited to have them come to life for the students. So that is what we're doing at the recital. None of the students know. I really doubt any of them watch it. If any of the teachers at Colourful Keys end up watching this replay, then the surprise will be ruined for them, but I don't think they really watch this show because they see me on Monday mornings anyway, so they've had enough Nicola today. Okay, so yeah, that's been my project, my fun project in the studio, and then of course my usual goings on at VMT and experiments and trying different things out there. We also release some new stuff, so on the blog and podcast side of things, we have a model music studio system that came out, and we also have an update on how to handle summer. So if you've been struggling with what to do with your summer lessons, that's a great article to look at. You can find it on the Colourful Keys blog. And what else? Oh yeah, on YouTube, we published a video about how I use Tonara. So I've been using Tonara for the last year, and people have been curious about which features I use or which I don't, and how exactly it fits in my studio, because I've talked about practice a lot in the past and how I use assignment sheets and stuff. So it's been a very different thing for us to be using a digital system. And so yeah, it's been really great. So that is on the YouTube channel, sorry, right here. And then I want to share with you a podcast episode I listened to yesterday, actually, which was from the Cult of Pedagogy, or as she would say, the Cult of Pedagogy, as many of you would say. So the Cult of Pedagogy podcast, it is not about piano, it's not even about private teaching, it's about classroom teaching. But she had a post yesterday, or a podcast I listened to yesterday, about pushing the easy button. And I thought her perspective was just really interesting. It's definitely not directly applicable to us, like she's talking about testing and how that influences things, but it really got me thinking, and I always love listening to her show when I manage to catch it, especially when she does solo episodes. So Cult of Pedagogy might be worth checking out and see if it sparks some ideas for you. What is something that we're doing that we're just pushing the easy button on, not like that we're not to be hard on ourselves, but just to question things, right? Always trying to question, why do we do it that way? And is it a default or is it the best option, right? So that is Cult of Pedagogy, and then with Jennifer Gonzalez, by the way. And then we also have a new course inside VMT that I want to show you guys. So it's called Smooth Studio Systems. And I'll give you a little taste of what it's all about. So this is the course right here. This is all about setting up processes and systems in your studio so that things run the same way every time, and you're not constantly saying to yourself, oh, I wonder, should I do this next or that next? Or there was something good I did in the recital last year. What was that? Or when when you have a new parent, are you always sending them the same thing? So this is the course right here. And one of my favorite things about it is that I've included templates for both Asana and ClickUp, which are the two softwares that I might recommend to you, or platforms I might recommend for organizing your projects. Now, you don't have to be using one of those, but if you opt for one of those, and I go through exactly why you might use one or the other in that video, but if you opt for one of those, I have fully laid out templates for you. So what these will do is they'll take you through literally every single thing you might include, and then you can take the things you want to include and adjust them from there, but it gives you a starting point. It's kind of similar in a way to the essential email templates that we have, where you can take that and you can reword it. Like, you don't want to speak as me in my voice, right? You might say things differently, there might be turns of phrase that I use, or you might prefer a more formal or a less formal style of writing, but it gives you a starting point. So you're not looking at a blank screen and wondering, what all do I do for a recital or whatever. You have those templates, so they're already laid out for you, ready to import, and I show you exactly how to import them for both of those systems as well. So I hope you love that course, members who are watching. If you're not a member, you can sign up at vibrantmusicteaching.com and you'll get instant access, of course, to that, as well as all the other courses and all the other amazing resources inside VMT. So that's all my news. Let's take a look at what's coming up soon. Right, so next week on the show, we're talking about changing your lesson format. And I'd love to hear from you, those of you in the chat, who's considering a change of lesson format for next year. Have you already made an announcement? Have you decided what you're doing? Are you just thinking about it? Are you thinking about it for 2023 or something way in the future? Are you going to change your lesson format? This is something that I've done in various ways, to various degrees. I've made one big change and then other smaller changes through the years. So I'm excited to share with you about changing your lesson format and how we can do that and how we can communicate it to parents so that it goes really smoothly. And we've lots more stuff on systems coming up around the blog as well. But today's topic is all about raising your fees. So give me a scared emoji or a woohoo if you're excited to raise your fees. Let me know how you feel about the whole idea of raising your fees, and we'll dive into some do's and don'ts. When it comes to raising your fees for your lessons, there's a lot to be scared of. I know, you might be worried that everybody's going to quit, or that they're going to come back to you and say, well, why are you doing this? And why now? And what makes you think you can charge this much, right? And deep down, we know most of the things aren't going to happen. For the most part, no one is going to react that strongly or be that harsh to you. And you're probably not raising them that much to have that kind of reaction anyway, but the worry is there, and it is totally understandable. When you go to raise your fees, you're considering what you might lose. And what you might lose are your favorite students, and that's a big deal. But raising your fees is so important, and it should be done regularly so that you don't have these sudden increases where people really will quit. So let's go through some do's and don'ts to help you raise your fee. The first don't. Don't apologize. Whatever you do when it comes to raising your fees, I do not want you to apologize. Instead, let's think about gratitude. Anytime you go to say sorry, whether it's about raising your fees or about anything else, try saying thank you instead. You need to tweak the sentence a bit sometimes, but I'll give you an example. Instead of saying, I'm so sorry I didn't email you back sooner, you say, thank you for waiting for me. So how does this apply to raising your fees? Well, so many teachers go into that email, that announcement of raising your fees, from a position of apologizing. Now, most teachers don't actually say, sorry, I have to raise my fees, but they imply it. They say things like, I'm afraid I have to blah, blah, blah. That's one of mine. Maybe that's just in how I naturally speak, but I'd say, I'm afraid I have to do this, that. The other ways of implying that we're sorry that we have to do it. But you shouldn't be sorry. You should be grateful. You should say, thank you for being part of the studio, and have that sentiment behind what you're saying. But you don't need to apologize for raising your fees. The next don't is not to justify. Do not justify raising your fees. Instead, show the benefit. Show your parents, explain to the piano parents what it is they're going to get, instead of justifying. Here's how that might play out. So let's say a common email I see going around is a teacher saying, I'm sorry I have to raise my fees this year. Here are the extra, I have this extra expense, I have that extra expense, I'm spending too long looking up repertoire, this has changed, that's changed. That's all me. Imagine someone came to you with those arguments. Imagine you got an email from Netflix, why not? And Netflix says, we're so sorry, we have to raise your prices to $20 a month instead of 10. I can't even remember what Netflix costs, but something like that. I'm so sorry, I have to raise it to $20 a month. We regret to do this, it's horrible, but we have extra taxes to pay in your country now. That would be their reason with us. We have to replace our data servers. What are you thinking? You're thinking, that's your business problem. I mean, why didn't you account for the taxes in the first place? And it's not my fault your computer broke. Hey, I was already paying you that fee and now you're saying I have to pay you more? It immediately gives you the wrong frame of reference. Where if Netflix came to you, now you still might balk at this with Netflix, but if they said, we're raising it to this much because we want to produce this much percentage more films because you're all demanding, you're all saying that you want this and that and the other. If they're adding features and they're telling you why this is happening, that's a different conversation. So when it comes to raising your piano teaching fees, you need to come at it from the perspective of what this will do for them. Now that can be trickier because maybe you're not adding anything. In most cases, you don't really need to justify it at all. So in a lot of cases, leave it out entirely. But if you do feel the need to justify it, and that would be if you're making a big jump, and we'll talk about that more in a moment, but if you're going to make that big jump in your fees, then you might feel the need to justify. And where that need is strong within you, that's where you come up with the reasons. And there should really be reasons if it's a big jump. And the reason is not, I haven't raised it in years, because that's a you problem. The reason is, I want to provide this, that, and the other to students. I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. We're adding workshops, or we're adding this new app that we're going to use, or whatever is happening. You can have a reason for a big jump, but you don't need to justify it and come across defensive to your students. What's our next don't? Do not, very appropriate in black and white, grandfather. Instead of grandfathering your old students in at their old rate, maybe you do want to consider having a system for people to reach out to you if they are genuinely in financial need. So many teachers will say, oh, but parents aren't going to be able to pay the new rate, and I don't want to be unfair, and what if they have to quit and then their child goes without music? Again, first of all, if you're charging a fair rate, that's not up to you. They need to prioritize music or not. And if you are making that big jump, you probably have a reason for that. However, if you want to come up with a system, as I have, whereby people can apply to you if they have a financial circumstance where they need a reduced rate, that's different. So I have what I call a scholarship form. You can call it anything you like. But I include that alongside a lot of fee information. Not as a, no matter what, you can apply for the scholarship, but I would include some verbiage right now along the lines of, I know finances are very different for many people right now, and things are looking quite difficult in some circumstance. So I want to make sure that you know that we have this scholarship application form. If you're struggling, I don't want you to feel like your only option is quitting, or that kind of wording. That wouldn't be exactly what I said, but something like that. So you're providing an option, but you're not defaulting to everyone who was on the old rate should stay on the old rate, because why should they? I just don't see a justification for that. And it usually leads forward to these resentful situations. Maybe you've had one of these yourself. I see a lot of teachers saying, oh, this family, they just don't appreciate what I do for them. They're always picking up their kiddos late, and they don't pay me on time, and they do this, that, and the other, and they're on this super low grandfathered in rate. I'm like, that might be why they take all those liberties with your policies and everything else. I don't want to say give people an inch, they'll take a mile, but we do train people in how we should be treated. And if they haven't seen you as a strong business entity, they won't treat you as one. So, not a fan of grandfathering in. The next don't wait. Please do not wait to raise your fees. This is the biggest mistake you can make. If you take one thing away from today, and remember, J. It's always fine to just do one thing. So if you take away one message from today, I want it to be this. Do it now. Not right now, this minute, but this year, okay? Don't wait. I raise my fees every year by a few percent. Most parents barely even notice a few percent. Those that do aren't going to think it's a big deal. It's just, the fees for things change every year. That's fine. It's when you wait and you have to jump up by like 10, 20, 40, 50% because you're so far behind the market. That's where you have a problem. That's where people are going to quit, and that's where you end up with the wrong clients, the wrong people in your studio. So don't wait, please. If you haven't done a fee increase in a while, make a big jump, and then, this is the part that requires so much bravery, and I do understand, make the big jump, and then do it again next year. Like, raise your fees a few percent next year. Or commit to raising a significant amount, but not a huge amount, for the next several years until you catch up. That's not my favorite, to be honest. I think you should jump, because I think if your fees are really low for where you are, if you're way below the going rate, you probably have a lot of the wrong people in your studio. The people who were just worrying about prices. question from Michael there. I think one of the reasons that teachers don't raise rates is because they're not marketing enough to fill their studio and increase demand. So this is a weak position to negotiate from. That's interesting, Michael. So yes, sometimes teachers will not raise rates because they feel like, well, I'm not getting students as it is. But what most teachers don't realize is your rates are probably not the thing turning people away, or probably not the reason people don't sign up with you. In fact, for some people, and in many cases for your ideal clients, if you're the bottom of the barrel, that's the reason they're not signing up. The customers you really want are not the ones who are bargain hunting. So I see the fear, but honestly, you need to raise your rates in order to get that respect from the market, from the people in your community. Not out of the range of what's reasonable for where you live, and that's different everywhere, so I'm not going to give out any rates here. But you need to raise up to the standard price or higher on the high end, so that people respect your studio and see it for what it is, for the value that you give them. And I know that you're running a great studio. I haven't ever asked that question on this stream because you're investing in your professional development right now. You're watching a video right here. You could be doing something else, but you're not. You're learning about bettering your studio, and I know that means you take your business seriously. So, great question, Michael, but I think we need to see things differently. And yeah, just to push through that fear, because I know it's a real fear. Our next don't. Don't stay the same. Even if you're not going to raise your rates. Even if you're not going to go up, my modest 3%, as I often do. Don't stay the same. Figure out a way to make your rates change, even if they're not going to go up for whatever reason. So maybe they go 1 year up or down, or there's a different structure in the calendar or something like that. Figure out a way to make them change. Your enemy is stasis. It's having the same rate for several years in a row, because then people think, well, that's what you are. And then it's a big reaction when you do change them. But if you change them every year, things are going to be different. People are going to get used to the fact that it changes. They sign up September to June, or whatever the case may be for you, and then they get a new fee list, and they get to make the decision based on that. So maybe sometimes they go down slightly, but you've actually given yourself an extra holiday. That's fine. Just don't stay the same. What if other teachers in my area are not raising rates? I also have difficulty knowing what other teachers charge and what other kids' activities charge for a comparable private lesson. That is a tricky issue, and it's maybe outside of the whole raising rates issue. Is like, what do I charge in general? That might be something we do a separate video about. But other teachers not raising rates in your area, I don't think is a good reason for you not to. If you're way above what the market will bear, if you're way above what other people are charging, that's one thing. But if you're not, the 3% is still my advice. Most teachers in my area don't raise their rates. I wish they would. I want to see them, treat their businesses well and respect our profession and push things forward. But most of them don't. They don't change their rates. And I think that's a mistake. But it doesn't affect what I do, because it doesn't change anything for my clients. They never come to me and say, well, so-and-so didn't raise their rates and yours go up 3% every year. Like, that's just, no one is paying that much attention to me. In my opinion. Our next don't. We've got 2 to go. Do not make people think. Don't make people think. Go all-inclusive if you can. Now this is a more gentle recommendation, okay? But definitely don't make people think. Make it a simple fee structure. My favorite fee structure is monthly or semesterly standard rate tuition that stays the same throughout the year and is on a regular recurring amount, and that is all inclusive. So what I mean by all inclusive in my studio is all my students' books, their folders, t-shirts, bags, whatever. It's all included. It's all standard. And that is a huge convenience for parents, and it means, yes, they don't have to think. Many parents will be shocked by other activities, and they're familiar with this feeling, and it's not fun, right? You sign your kiddo up for dance, and it's a certain price, and that's great. But then the dance teacher says, oh, no, they can't come into the class until they have this exact leotard from this shop, and ballet tights, and ballet slippers, and also jazz shoes, and also tap shoes. Well, why isn't that if every child needs this and none of them have it, and you demand it's from this particular shop, then why isn't that just included in your fees? I mean, it's much more predictable for other people's finances, and they have to have it, right? So I love all-inclusive fees. And it really is a huge thing to do. And this is a good example of something where you could not raise your rates, but still change your rates by making them all inclusive, right? So it's just a restructuring. And if you feel like you don't need to raise your rates this year, although in most cases you should because of cost of living increases, but if you're in a position where you really don't want to, or you only want to put them up 1% or something, maybe you change some kind of structure around the payments, and that could be moving to all-inclusive fees or just including some things. One of the reasons I love all-inclusive fees so much, by the way, is because the more we move forward, the more we have digital resources, things like Vibrant Music Teaching, where you get all your games, things like subscription book resources, or studio license books, app subscriptions, all of these things. They're for all your students. And it's so hard to parse them out. And how are you going to charge for them? And it's so much easier to just include all of that and all of their books and all of their resources. And it's easier for parents. They don't have to think. Nobody likes thinking. I mean, they do sometimes, but not about stuff like this. So don't make people think. Try all-inclusive fees or some other simple fee structure if you've been doing things lesson by lesson, book by book. Alright, the last don't. Don't wait too long. But do give a little notice. So I want you to consider doing it right now. Hopefully this is a good time of year for you to consider doing this. So if you haven't already set up your fees for next year, I have. I've set up my simple table that I share with parents and all of the calendar and everything that goes along with that at this stage. I only just did it though. You've got loads of time. If you haven't done that, now is the time to do it if you're in this hemisphere, to get things ready. And then you do give a bit of notice. I mean, I give my parents the new information at the end of 1 year, and then they need to hand it in the middle of July, and that's for the next year. So if they want to go find a cheaper teacher, okay. I mean, I'm not way high in the market or anything like that. But if they did want to go bargain hunting, well, that's fine. They're not the client for me, honestly. And I know I'm coming at that from a position where my studio is full, it has a waiting list, and I acknowledge that that's not where all of you are. I still had this attitude right at the beginning, though. I really, really did. I maybe took on some less ideal clients in terms of what they were looking for in lessons, very exam-focused students, people with certain preferences that really don't fit that well in my studio now or in my style of teaching. But I always raised my fees, and I always gave them this notice, and I always have the attitude of, if they decide not to come back because of a 3% increase, they are not for me. They're just not. So I hope you'll raise your fees this year. I hope I've given you some confidence to do it. and some ideas about how to go about it. But keep adding your questions. If you have a question, we will get to all of them at the end that have the label question on it. So just let us know. Right now, we're going to go into our web reviews. So for web reviews, here's what we're looking for. We want these sites to have enough text on them. We want them to have clear calls to action. Tell us what to do, where we should go, and it should be an action that's beneficial to you. A clear, consistent branding. So couple of colors, couple of fonts, that's all we want. They should showcase the teacher or the person in question rather than being generic. They should show real photos if possible and have a simple menu structure. So with that being said, here is our first one for today. So when we arrive on this site, we have a popover right away. So sign up for Michelle's music blog updates and teaching updates. I commend you for having a lead generator right away. I think it's too vague though, Michelle. And I think it's too soon. Now, there may have been a delay on this that we missed because of how we're doing the video and that I pre-recorded, but I think this loaded straight away, so it's not my favourite to do that. I would prefer to see this load quite a bit later or have me click on something to make it load. Pop-ups work, but only in certain circumstances, and in this circumstance I don't think I'm compelled as a new parent thinking, oh, maybe this teacher might be a good fit for my child. I'm not going to sign up for this. That's my perspective anyway. However, when I close that, I have a gorgeous looking site. Well done on this. It looks fabulous. I love the logo. That's really fun and quirky and cute. And then I have a picture of you, some great recital photos. Love that. And a really clear and consistent branding, which is great. Now, little question mark around this stock image in particular. Some of the stock images are okay. I don't love using this one simply because I have seen it quite a bit. Now that's me, so they won't have seen it quite as much, but could you choose something a little bit more unusual maybe there? Yeah. I'm not sure this is super intuitive in terms of the UI. I would just remove that and leave it scrolling personally, rather than having the dots. It seems cool. It's one of those things that when you know what it does, it's like, oh, that's so cool, when you know your site well. But if you're a new person arriving, you're like, what are these? Or you just ignore them. So I'm not sure I love those. What I do love is you've got book a lesson right front and center, and then view services slightly weaker. That looks great. The Facebook is a little bit prominent for me, if I'm going to pick on something, but everything else there looks great. And yeah, we've got enough text, we've got strong calls to action, the branding's really consistent. Yeah, I would just think about those stock images a little bit, Michelle, and I would think about the pop-up, whether you could do it later or put it on a page, or maybe it's on the when I've already clicked on, say, book a lesson or something like that. But I'm not sure with the particular wording it has right now that it's that useful for you. Number 2, we have Songsmith Studio. So this is another beautiful site when we arrive. And oh, I didn't mention Michelle's menu structure, but that's because it was great. That's a really good sign. And this one is good too. It's nice and simple. I'm not sure about the title of subjects and services, but I like that it's just 4 things. I like the wording of my story and contact. That's simple. That's good. My hesitation here is we've got this beautiful image. And it's going to be a gorgeous video, and I'm not going to want to tell you to remove it because it's going to be wonderful. I can tell that already.
Hi, for my student, Laylee, record as a music teacher, you can visit songs.
Okay, I love that you have the video. I love this thumbnail for a YouTube thumbnail or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm torn. I'm sure you can all hear it in my voice. So maybe the chat can chime in. But this picture is gorgeous. But my hesitation with it is, I arrive on this site and I don't know you teach or do music straight away on looking at it. And I think it needs to be clearer. So my suggestion really is going to be, Hannah, if you want to leave this image, because I do think it's wonderful and so quirky and fun, could you maybe make this, the logo area, more clear? I know it says Songsmith, but could it have something musical in it? Something simple, treble clef, you know, some symbol in it that maybe it would be a bit clearer. That's my only hesitation there on the homepage. Okay, and I think you could use some more text on the homepage, like a lot more about, you know, what lessons with you are like, or what you do, and all of that stuff. I know it's probably over here, but you need to say it in a different way on your homepage. Lovely photo gallery there. Oh, this is great. Your about page is gorgeous. Well done. And this all looks wonderful. Really, it does. So just homepage, a bit more text, and maybe we can put music in here somewhere just when I arrive, before I dive into anything. What can I see? What could we put there that shows me that you're a music teacher or a musician? Great job to both of the people who submitted their sites today, Hannah and Michelle. They're both gorgeous. Alright, Ask Me Anything section, here we come. Let's just make sure we get all the questions, and you guys can chime in if you've new ones. So, Lydia, have you ever done a piano rehearsal for the recital? If so, what do you do for it? I'm planning on doing a rehearsal and doing some games. Just wanted ideas. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean specifically by piano rehearsal. Maybe that was just how you said it, but maybe you mean that it's on the specific piano that the recital is going to be on. So that's my only question back to you there, Lydia. But I do, in normal times, do a rehearsal. My online recitals are pre-recorded videos, so there's no rehearsal because they can do a bunch of takes, right? So, but in regular in-person recitals, yes, I do a rehearsal. It's about 3 weeks before, because I want them to still have time to fix things or practice. And it is a group workshop, multi-age, multi-level, at the studio. They come in groups, a maximum of 10, and they each play for each other, and I give them kind of a format of giving feedback. So I give them a checklist normally of the recital etiquette stuff that they're looking for. You know, walking up to the piano instead of running, sitting down nicely, thinking before you begin, putting your hands nicely on the keys, breathing, all of that stuff that's nothing to do with playing. So I'll go around and ask for a few comments after each performer, and a lot of the time they'll give that kind of feedback, and then otherwise they might give feedback on the piece, or you know, the dynamics and other stuff that they notice. But it's great to focus on the recital etiquette because it feels less pressurized. For students that are nervous, it's like, oh, I forgot to whatever, and everyone always forgets something, so it's kind of common ground, I guess. And then yeah, playing some games. So that's pretty much how it works. It's that plus playing some games together, doing some improvisation together, all the usual stuff that I do at group workshops in person. Lee, we've loads of composing projects, absolutely, and all the composing I do is with all of my students, including the songwriting project I did recently. I haven't uploaded that one yet because it's not fully polished and formalized yet, but there's tons of composing projects. So if you just go to the library, select composing, and it'll be right there. Let me see if I can quickly load that up for you and I'll show you how to do that. Next question is from Michael. Interesting. How do you feel about raising fees more for adult learners? Why is my question, Michael. Why would you do that? Is it because you don't like them? If so, I would just target your marketing. Unless you want to rule them out completely, I would just target your marketing towards kids more. If it's because they keep missing lessons and stuff, then no makeups. Don't give them a pass on that, right? Don't let them reschedule it. Don't let them cut the fees short or whatever. Your fees should be a flat rate. So if it's like things adults do that are inconvenient, they shouldn't be inconvenient to you because it's the adult's choice to opt into that time, and you'll find that once you make it that they can't reschedule, they don't. As in, like, they don't cancel. Yeah, so I hope that helps, but feel free to follow up. Let me go back to Lee's question. So if we go, Lee, to topic and composing, because it's not really a pedagogy thing. So you'll see there's the micro composition one, animal menagerie, fantastic fiction. Those are all projects. So is Circus Collective. So is Spring Theme. So there's 4 different fully fledged projects, and then there's the shorter format there as well. So yeah, hope that helps, Lee. Then let me see, I got that one. Charlotte, how much is too much? I've raised fees 1.5% and considered adding a couple of lessons to the year as well. That sounds like you didn't raise your fees, Charlotte. But even adding 1 lesson would have meant an increase of 4.5%. Oh, I see. So I decided not to. I don't think 4.5 is too much. My standard for many years was 5%. I've gone down to about 3 to 3.5 just because I feel like we're at a pretty good rate. But when I was a little bit on the lower side, I was at 5. So it's very much a gut feel thing. Something you learn as you get more into business and marketing and all of this stuff is pricing is just totally way more artsy than it should be, than you feel it should be. It's not a mathematical equation. There's no magic formula. You have to go with your gut in the end. You can do research, but you have to go with your feeling. And yeah, sometimes your gut is telling you, I'm terrified to raise my fees. But if you really look at the price and say, would people pay this for lessons? Normally the answer is yes, if we're talking about 4.5%. And again, you focus on that. I want to be able to offer an extra lesson in the year because XYZ. Or not even because. I just want to see my students more. Angie, what if the jump for grandfather students would be a 25% increase? Seems daunting to ask of them, although I charge the higher rates in my other 15 students, no problem. Yeah, this is why I hate grandfathering, but you're in the situation you're in, Angie. So I'm not going to give this as pure advice, but my preference personally would be rip off the plaster, the band-aid. Just do it. Just get rid of it. Because likely even if you do like 5 and 5 and 5 and 5, you're still going to get to a point where the people who really were with you for that price are going to be like, you can't do it incrementally enough to make it logical for them or to make it comfortable for them. So personally, I would just say, you explain to them you've been on this lower rate. It's only charging it to students who have been with me for a while, but everyone will be moving, and that's a definite language. Everyone will be moving, not I have decided, I'm so sorry, unfortunately I have to. None of that, just everyone's moving to the new rate. This is what it is. Take it or leave it, I'm afraid. Don't say that, but that's the attitude you have to go into it with. Lee, under the topic of do not justify, should I point out to them that I haven't... No. Don't point out that you haven't raised your rates in 6 years. You can do that if someone comes back to you like aggressive and annoying and angry. It's very unlikely that anyone's going to do that if they're good clients of yours. But if you had that comeback, I would bring it up. Well, I haven't actually raised them in 6 years, so this was long overdue. But right out of the gate, no, because that just gives people a reason to look at it and say, well, is it justified? And why is it such and such? No, you just, these are my new rates. Here's where you sign up. Laurie, do I have a template for a curriculum? I seem to forget everything I have in my drive, resources, games. Would like to have it all in a binder so I can flip through when I plan. Laurie, my suggest. Okay, so that's really two questions. The curriculum thing, I don't have a template because it's just not templateable. I have toyed with this idea several times in the past, Laurie, and it just won't work. But what we do have is the piano power boosters and the tiny finger takeoff, so you can follow them as your curriculum and then fill in extras along the way and start to formulate your own in that way. The other side of your question was about flipping through games and resources you have and stuff like that. I honestly would just suggest going to the VMT library page, the printable library, and just filtering there. And, you know, some of it you'll have, some of it you won't have, that's fine. But you can mark it as tried it or as favourite, you know, if they're things you've already printed. And that's where I go. I just go to the library and I'm like, what do we have for note reading and this other thing at this level? Oh, okay. So that's what I use, so that's what I would suggest. In terms of organising the physical games, I suggest magazine folders, and I suggest going by topic, and for things that you have a lot under the same topic, as I do for, say, rhythm I have to divide in 2, or note names I have to divide in 3 in my games collection. That's how I would suggest doing it, by topic, but it depends on the teacher. Okay, last question for today. Do I recommend a sibling raid? Great question to finish on. I should have covered this earlier. That feels like something that was left out, so thank you for asking that. No sibling raids. It's a lot of knowing today, isn't it? But I did label this do's and don'ts, so there was a lot of don'ting everywhere. I don't think you should have a sibling raid. Siblings... There's a small argument to be made for, oh, but I have slightly less admin because I deal with one parent. But that is negated by the fact that if you lose that family, you're probably going to lose the whole family and you're going to have 2 spots to fill. So yeah, they have a tiny bit less admin to do, but they have a greater risk. And if your argument for it is, oh, but it's so hard on parents, I'm sorry, that's not your problem. Parents have 2 kids, they have 5 kids. They have to pay for stuff for them. That's our system. Like, that's the world. Right? So, well, I don't want to be like, tough luck, you have 5 kids. It is a bit tough luck you have 5 kids. You know, they have to budget for things for all of their different kids, and that's part of their job as a parent. And again, if you want to offer some kind of scholarship opportunity, like if you feel like you're not serving a certain portion of the community or you want to help a family out, that's a different thing. But I don't believe in sibling discounts, in summary. Hope that's clear and doesn't sound too harsh, but and you understand my reasoning for it. Alright, thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a blast as always. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday and rest of your week. And if you have any follow-up questions, just let me know in the comments. And I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!